Let's go. Let's go. Whee! Here we go, boys and girls. Let's get after this thing today. We got a lot of fun stuff to do today. A lot of fun stuff to cover. And we're going to hang out. We're also going to kind of watch that altar fight going on over at the other side of our KVK. Why not? But if you are just now starting this and watching this, we're going to do our leadership series on Warleading. Great discussions we're going to have with Cortex and Peace. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll also break this up into chapters if you're watching this later about the different aspects of Warleading and some of the things. People ask me all the time, like, do you have a Warleading video? Like, yeah, we're just going to do a stream. And we're going to ask questions and we're going to kind of go through it all. But appreciate everybody for jumping in. I'm your guy, War Daddy Chadsky, and doing these videos all the time, doing the streams all the time. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, throw a thumbs up. Already seeing a bunch of people in here. Elvis, Beast, Nexus, Pokerface, Jokalele. Good seeing you guys. Corn Dog. Minty, what's up, man? Let's go. Pika, my guy. Jesse Brown, thanks so much for you guys coming in and hanging out with us. And now what I have to do, I've got to actually open up I've got Cortex and Peace just hanging out to listen to, but I can't hear them because all they do is make fun of me when I'm trying to do my intro.
All right, fam.
Here we go. That's all they do. Oh, how are you guys doing today?
Good.
I'm doing all right, fam.
I like it. Let's go.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, you guys are amazing. You guys are so amazing. So I already prepped everybody for what we're doing and how we're doing it. I've got my 300 guys, my Spartan 300 members down here, kind of scrolling through. AJ, C-Dav, Staffer, of course, Josh, all my crew, PTI, Anzo, everybody's in there. AJ, it's a lot of fun. Thank you to those guys for helping support the channel. It's our 300 club. You can always join that. Andy, you're right. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into game here, shall we? I got my little deal set up here. We're going to talk about this a little bit on how this thing works. Hold on. I need to do my
Clicking buttons.
I need to do my clicking button stuff.
This is the part where he accidentally turns his camera on, yo. Just wait for it.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
You can go put the camera on the 2377 ruin altar, I mean.
Now you can go put it on.
Well, you're streaming at the time that I was gonna do that, so you do that.
There we go.
Are they actually fighting right now?
I think they will.
Yeah, they're
right?
about to. They're prepping at the pass. Well, they're fighting through the pass right now.
Well, let's go watch it, shall we? I'm trying to figure out how I bring my... oh, here we go. I got you, Cortex.
You've been added router source? What is that?
Huh?
I got to do my videos or my sound, so everybody gets kind of a peek inside the sound of what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
I'm adding different things. Okay, so let's get
Why
in
does
game.
your game look so weird?
What do you mean? Why does it look so weird?
Why is it's so small?
Because we're gonna have our little discussion points going on as we're doing this.
Oh my.
Okay, here we go. We're watching some of our allies here in 2377 as they start hammering away at the pass. Now they lost the first altar, and I think it was just bad timing, uptime for the allies there that they have, and we'll call it Mercia Camp. These are our enemies, 3310 and what is it, 1718? So we can watch some of this stuff while we're discussing some of the Warleading. Okay, so we're getting into Warleading, y'all. This is gonna be awesome. So much fun. Leave a like, as Pika says. Thank you, buddy. Ronan, you got me on in the background. Yeah, the NFL just started. Kickoffs just happened. So just throw me on in the background and listen. David, you say, Chad, look at my reports. Okay, I'll do that later. But thank you for sending me, bud. Oh, Corn Dog, the 300 Club. You get full access on $5 monthly, voice chats, etc. Yes, voice chats.
The 300 Club is 50.
It's $50 every month. But
Not 5.
What we do offer you is account reviews that we go through on your account and help you out with. You get that every month. A lot of people will be a 300 member, and then they'll pass off their account review to somebody else for each month to have somebody else take part of that benefit or that perk. We allow you to do that. You're also in a special chat with us where you can ask all kinds of questions and all that fun stuff. And you get pretty much instant access and immediate access, priority access, I should say. So from that, it's that's how that thing works out. So getting a little push out here, guys, from the allies. I think they're going to start pushing into the altar. Here we go. The fighting's getting ready to start. And it's just so apropos that we did the Warleading stream we're doing while there's fighting going on, because altar fights, you got to have a good Warlead, as anybody knows. So with that being said, let's get right into it, shall we?
Bunch of feral cats out there on altar days.
I always love that. Okay, so we're going to bullet point this thing, and we're going to have discussion with it, okay? So, Warleading. Warleading in general, it is... let me preface everything by saying it is probably the most, I want to say, thankless job, because it is acutely the hardest job to do in leadership. It is so hard. Would you guys agree with that, Cortex and Peace?
It's pretty stressful.
I don't know if Warleading is the hardest. Like,
what would you say is harder than Warleading?
I think all the back-end planning is harder than Warleading.
It's very time-consuming, the strategy piece.
Yeah, whereas Warleading you do as you're going on, whereas planning is something that you do outside of your regular time playing the game, whereas Warleading is something you do while you're playing the game.
Right. Well,
I think that's the difference.
I will say this though, if there's ever a screw up, if there's ever a problem, the Warlead gets the most heat. So I think that's why.
And I think the reason why I say it, and I'm going to equate it to running a professional sports franchise, right? The back end stuff of picking the players you want to buy or you want to trade for, and building your organization and doing all those things. That's a bunch of work that has to go into it. But the Warleading is like the head coach or the manager. I mean, they're the ones that got to go do it when it matters. And that's why I'm saying it's such a hard, stressful job, because you've got to wrangle hundreds of cats, right? And it is very important that you identify who's best at doing that, who's able to keep a cool head, who's able to do it right. And a good Warlead can take a kingdom with good fighting capabilities and make them really, really good in the field. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, we're gonna ask the first question that we have here. What makes a good Warlead? What makes a good Warlead in the field? And I preface this with, sometimes inherently I'll have to go Warlead some stuff, but I hate it and I'm not very good at it. And sometimes you have to identify, not everybody can be a Warlead. Your best fighter, or your best fighters, the vanguard, the people running 6 to 7 marches, the people that are doing a lot of things. Sometimes, and most of the times, you need them focusing on fighting. You need them focusing on the tip of the spear, pushing the field, and concentrating on that. It is so hard to do that while Warleading. It's really, really difficult to do. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think
it's hard to play. It's hard to play efficiently whilst you're Warleading and whilst you're. Also, you generally you need someone else doing markers. If you're fighting and Warleading, you need someone good to be able to listen to what you're saying and put markers accordingly. It's kind of way easier if you do it as a 2-man job than as you need to Warlead. You need to put the marker. You need to manage your own marches. I think having some help is good. But yeah.
I think somebody that's able to, I see that Rels came in and said confidence. I think that's really important, because having someone who's decisive and who can kind of cut through all the bullshit and the clutter and take command of the situation, quiet people who are maybe talking a little too much, I think someone that can be a good leader is a good leader, right? And command the attention of everybody to make those decisions. But I think I'm just going to put this caveat out there. I say that not because I think I'm the best Warlead ever. I just think that I've played with a lot of great Warleads, and I've seen some amazing Warleads, and I've also experienced some bad things too, and I've learned a lot. So I will preface saying that too.
Well, from that standpoint, though, you know, sometimes the best Warleads I've played with are more in an Overwatch situation, or they're playing on a farm. And they're not concerned with their own marches and going back to their city and healing and doing all that nonsense. It's almost like the easiest way, I should say, to Warlead and do it effectively is by not having a whole lot of other responsibility, right?
Yeah. And Andy's bringing up a good point, is holding people accountable, you know, and even just the notion of when you say push, that means everybody, and you need to kind of be able to follow through on the calls you make by keeping people accountable and being a little bit strict sometimes. And I think some people hate that part of it. But I think when you play at a very competitive level also, that's the expectation, I think.
What do you think, Cortex?
Yeah, I mean, keeping people accountable, being confident, it's all important things when you're leading a kingdom to war, right? You need to, and you also need to have respect, I think, is also important. You need to earn respect and maintain that respect from all the players in your kingdom. The second the kingdom loses respect for you as a Warlead, it's over. They're not going to listen to you. They're going to go off and do their own thing. And if you don't have the respect of all your players, you're in a very bad spot as a Warlead.
It takes a weird dynamic to be somebody that people, I don't want to say you got to have riz, but to have a little bit of charisma, have a little bit of somebody that people like and respect, that can be hard on people. Because the Warlead has to be the asshole. I mean, they have to.
Having the relationships with people helps. I think a lot of people where you have that relationship with them in the down times, and sometimes I'll just switch the conversation when things die down to just something fun to keep the relationship and the vibes up, right? So people will listen more when they have a relationship with the person, I think. So
we got Pika in the chat and Andy. It's funny we bring up Pika, and not necessarily Warleading, but I like the guys like Pika that say, "Hey, y'all see this? Let's go get this shit burned." And that's just one of the things that, you know, getting detailed and intricate in some of the things that Warleading has to do, and just identifying who are good Warleads. And that's the other thing, is that Warleads have to be very distinct and exclusive. You can't have a bunch of Warleads. You have to have somebody everybody listens to, including the leaders, including the people who are doing the strategy. They've got to be very cognizant that they don't step on the toes of the Warleads, right?
Yep.
I think that's good. Okay. So we'll go on to the next one. I've got all kinds of stuff, because this is one of the things that people get into sometimes when it comes to. Hold on. That's my leadership series. Hold on. I'm putting up the next bullet point, and it is strategy versus Warleading. Okay. So when you're looking at this and you're trying to say strategy versus Warleading, those are two distinct things. And you guys mentioned it at the beginning when it comes to, you know, Cortex, you said, hey, what takes a lot of time is a strategy, the setup and all that stuff. But there's two different aspects to this, because great strategy people are not the best Warleads sometimes. And a lot of the times the best Warlead people they know strategy, and it's great to be aware of it, but the overall planning and territory strategy of what you're trying to get done, you know, the Warleads they're so much more micro in the field that they can't see all that stuff, right? And so there's a distinct difference between your strategy and your Warleads, right?
Yeah, so I've done both for Imperium Kingdoms. So I've kind of, I guess, dabbled in both. In 1075, I was doing literally both at the same time, which wasn't great. But yeah, so basically, like I said earlier, planning takes a lot of time, and strategy takes a lot longer, and it's outside of your regular playing hours, right? It's time you're taking extra. Whereas if it's harder or not, I don't know. Like, I think both are difficult and both require their unique sort of skill set. But, like, I mean, for example, in the last 1075 KVK I did literally a flag-by-flag map, and also was Warleading on the field when we were fighting, right? And then also had to zoom out, go review, how's the map looking, what's our strategy moving forward. So, yeah, I think you should have separate people for strategy and Warleading, because doing both is way too much, because it takes my attention away. For example, when I have to zoom out, look at the map, what are our next moves? And then also at the same time, I'm trying to make sure I lead our field, so Yeah, you definitely should have different people, and I think also different people generally fit those roles. For example, I'd say I'm a better war lead than strategy person generally.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important to have clear delineation of tasks and roles and who is doing what. And sometimes you have war leads who also do the strategy, but I think at the very least, you need to have your war leads aware of the strategy, because sometimes that's been the case where you have people war leading, but they don't actually know what the objective is. It hasn't been really communicated by people making those kind of overarching strategy decisions. And so there's these moments within a KDK where decisions need to be made, and if your war leads don't have that information, that gets tough. And again, you're the face of the war leading effort. The war lead is the face of it. So if they don't know, then your whole leadership looks like they kind of don't have it together. So I think while it's definitely great to have multiple people doing it, especially for burnout too, I think people get really burnt out in big long KBKs. So having different roles is super key, and knowing that there is a difference. You're not just going to have a bunch of strategy people and not actually decide who is war leading.
It's funny because you talk about the different roles in that, and we're talking about war lead in general, but this goes into a discussion just about war planning and micro optimizing different things. When we were at our best, we had a person who was the spearhead of the war lead. They were deemed the war lead, whether that was Peace or Cortex or whoever it was, right? Then you had, and they both had plenty of awareness of the planning. But then you had a kind of your planner, and that was somebody like Crix, right? Who's not necessarily war leading the field, but he's looking for different things within the territory that's able to apply our strategy to what we're trying to do. And then you had somebody on markers, like a JDR is great with markers. He's hearing the markers from the war lead. He's putting down the markers for everybody. And then, some of the roles I would play would be to get optimized on the rallies and garrisons. Like the minute we know we're going to hit a flag, we'll find out what's in it. And then you've got somebody, the war lead is always great because they know which rallies and all that stuff come to play. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's almost like an effort from multiple people. And if you can get them on all at the same time, then you have clear, distinct roles for what you're trying to do in your war efforts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always thought we had a pretty good team. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about, if there was anything else you guys wanted to add to that, the next thing we're going to talk about is pre-pass open checklists. Okay, so as a war lead in your war efforts, Peace, you were always really, really good at this. I know it's mundane sometimes, and I know it's kind of stupid because you feel like you're saying the rhetorical things over and over. But having a pre-pass checklist is so key and crucial because no matter how experienced people are, it's like a sanity check. You just go through everything and make sure you've got everything right. And so talk about that piece, how you would do your pre-pass checklist.
Yeah, I mean, we would usually do some sort of announcement or mail or something that had kind of a checklist of things that people need to be prepared for. And part of that, I think it was different, and I know we're going to get into Rally Garrison microwing and stuff as well, but the things that we would sort of have on that would be, getting your gear set and knowing, sometimes you have building teams and knowing where people are up to that, reminding people about how to teleport properly, because I think every kingdom notices how people kind of forget how that works every time there's a KBK for some reason. Like a don't bubble on front lines. That I wish there was like a emoji for that in the game actually. So just like the etiquette, a lot of it too is a reminder about the etiquette. And sometimes you do have newer players, or maybe you're new to a kingdom. There's certain etiquette within each kingdom with fighting and setup, and even just the way you teleport. So when you get into these higher, more competitive kingdoms, and again, like I think that is a distinction here, we are referring in a lot of this to those more Imperium, really competitive KBKs, where you are microing a lot of things in terms of just setting up your path teleports and things like that. And so important to have that in mind. for sure.
Real quick, Josh, thank you for re-upping on the Spartan 300 Club. You're awesome. My guy Josh, you see him at the beginning of every stream with his cool little avatar, and really has been one of the sponsors of the channel, helping everybody with their memberships, and appreciate that, buddy. Welcome in as we kind of go through this. Presets in order. Yeah, Andy, you're right. And we would go through all that. It's not just like, hey, here's your guide that Peace would always put out. Like, here's what you got to do. Remember, this is what we're getting done. This is the objective for the territory. You don't want to get into too much of the strategy revealing to the members.
Yeah, we didn't ever put on strategy stuff.
No, but hey, we're going hard in this zone. Here's what we want to do. Here's all your checklists of things to work. And then Andy brings up a good question in the chat, just talking about more of the micro, like the day the pass opening. Okay, get your presets in order, get your runes, get your expansion, defense or attack tokens, make sure your civ's right, what's your city skin, hospital checks. I mean, you go through all those things that a good Warlead is constantly reminding people before a pass opens, and really at the first start of the zone, right?
Yeah, and then the other part too is that we would usually have not so much a checklist, but we'd have a pre-pass plan. So we'd split the team, Garrison's rally leads, into different areas on the map, different locations, and all of this, of course, would be done in a Google Doc, and done ahead of time. So a lot of people would be given roles and responsibilities throughout the KPK. I always found that was sort of like ARC. It's the first 30 minutes to couple hours of the pass open, and then after that, it's like it didn't matter because everybody's going everywhere.
And Cortex, I think this goes back to your point, just having somebody that's respected, because you're always going to go into a KVK or a zone where you have new people as part of your alliance, or you've got a camp, campmate, so that kingdom's in the voice call with you as well. So when you're giving out this information and when you're making sure people have their ready checks and stuff already situated, that brings kind of that first level of credibility, doesn't it? Where people are like, oh yeah, this guy knows what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah. And also, especially in bigger kingdoms, a lot of the Warleads end up getting like known, so to speak, on like a smaller scale within the higher end communities, right? People know of them, so when they migrate to these kingdoms, they already are aware of these personalities and are like, oh cool, I'm getting warled by this guy, I trust him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Also, having a credible account obviously helps. Like, if you're obviously a high KP player, high dead player, people are gonna generally trust your judgment more than if it's right or wrong. They're still gonna trust you more, even if it's accurate or not. They're still gonna trust your judgment more because they know that you also know how to fight, right? But yeah.
I still remember, it still rings in my ears, chat saying, we will never tell you guys to do something we won't do ourselves.
Exactly, and that's very important also to stand by, that you don't tell someone in your kingdom to do something that you would not do yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell an 85 million power player to go run it down on Swarm and a flag if you're sitting there at 60 million power with 500 kill points. I mean, it's just, you can't do it. It's kind of impossible to do.
Yeah, also sometimes there's bigger power players that are Warleads that, like, for example, they're watching like lower power players swarm flags and they're just sitting there, right? So
yes,
you need to like show.
We'll get into that later.
You mean business, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so pre-pass open checklist, got that squared away. The next one, micro optimizing your field, the tech, the skills, support skills, your stratagems. I mean, Cortex, we're going through that nonsense right now. We're getting ready to open up Pass 7, and we're all debating what stratagems to use and how to use them and all that stuff. But this is stuff
that... I'm ready to go, bro.
Oh, I know you are. But good Warleads, this is some of the stuff they do on the back end in the war efforts to make sure and talk to players. You can't be you can be a Warlead that just focuses on field. Like the minute you step in, you might not have been chatting or anything in Discord or in the game for 2 weeks, but the minute you step in, you know what to do in the game on the field at that acute moment. However, good Warleads will be working with their members. They're asking questions all the time in Alliance chat or on Discord. What do I use? What do I use in this situation? What stratagems are we using? And a little bit of that has to go into it as well in trying to micro optimize your field, and that's having good Warleads that know how to do that. That is also a big bonus.
100%.
100%.
That's it?
I think we've definitely seen where you have some lead, and this could be a different person. It doesn't have to be your Warlead necessarily, but I think from a leadership perspective, you definitely need to make sure someone is micro-optimizing, what your players are doing and giving them the information so that you guys have the biggest impact out there when you're in your murder ball. You can do nothing, or you can actually get the edge and micro.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can do, right? And I think it also obviously depends on the scale of your kingdom. For example, I heard that, for example, 960 will be making their whole alliance. Now, this is something I heard. I don't know if it's true or not. I think C will mention it on his stream. That they're going to make their entire kingdom run do or die, which means their entire murder ball, which already is scary enough, right, is going to do 10% more all damage. And they're obviously, they didn't have really a fight last KVK, and they're obviously a kingdom that has a lot to go through, right, before they're, so to speak, drained. So there may be a kingdom that can afford to do that, right?
Yep.
Which 10% all damage on the 60 GT ball. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to face that.
You want to go running into that thing. I've got do or die up here on the screen so people see. This is a particular stratagem in the King of All Britain that we're playing. It's busted good. I mean, you 10% all damage when you're fighting rallied armies or field troops. So basically in the field, you get 10% all damage. But it's gonna cost you deads. 2% of the 7 wounds you suffer will be converted to deads. I've already run that up to 413,000 deads. So I've already dropped over 4 million power using this skill. And so, but I think the point Cortex is trying to make is that you'll get directions from your Warleads, which ones to use. Okay, which different stratagems are you going to use? And it goes into micro-optimizing how you're going to run your field, how you're going to run your garrisons and your rallies. And that's some of the stuff that you've got to be cognizant of a Warlead. Not just the acute fighting, but also, hey, here's what we suggest. Here's what I'm going to run. And then it also goes back into the point of like, having respected fighters as Warleads. And that's one of the things that really helps, because any respected fighter who's a Warlead that goes in and tells everybody like, hey, if you guys can, get your Herman maxed as soon as possible. Herman is OP. We got to literally run as many Hermans in the field as possible. Right. And that falls on deaf ears if it comes from, like, again, your 60 million power player with 500 million kill points. I mean, that's just... That's what we did in 2605, I believe, right? I believe I sent a ping out saying when Herman came out, I'm like, literally, guys, everyone get Herman. We need Herman. Herman max immediately.
Those decks are gonna do insane stuff. If you're thinking about it, stop thinking about it. Get Herman and stop thinking about it. That's yeah, stuff
really
like that. You need. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm changing the subject. So go on if you have something else.
Oh. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, you really need someone to also like hyper optimize like talents, also like individuals, because not everyone has the same commanders, not everyone has the same gear sets. So really, like, being there present to help your players with running the best thing they can. If you do that for every single one of your players in your kingdom that need that help, you're gonna be a lot better off in the field, and you'll see the result of that, of micro optimizing.
Mm-hmm. And I always think it's interesting to think about people putting as much work into their war strategy as they do into their arc plan. Like, we've always played for war, not for OL or anything like that. But being able to micro optimize in that way. And I do like this person's comment. They said that war leads are important for heart if we go through tough periods in a fight to get people to hang tough and stick together. I will say, while Chazzy does not like being a war lead, he's definitely that guy that's like showing up and bringing the energy, bringing everybody up, because nothing sucks more than all of a sudden people just start to log off because people got upset. So I just wanted to bring attention to that note because I think it's super important.
Yeah, I will always try to take credit in the inspirational leading. I mean, I'm not. Sometimes when you have, I mean, and let's face it, when y'all are fighting zones, and Dennis, thank you so much for bringing that up. Josh, I can see you're already down 12 million power. Good job, swarming flags. But when you're fighting such long, arduous like zone fighting, and you're getting into day 2 and day 3, I mean, it's hard as you're going through your downtimes and stuff to keep the morale high. It's really difficult. And sometimes I would jump on and just fire everybody up, and I have no clue what we're even doing yet. I'm just like, guys, I'm on. Let's freaking go. What are we doing? And by having enough people that bring positive energy like that, that's half the battle sometimes. Because if you can inspire people to go face tank and run their stuff straight into the murder ball, or let's get this flag burned, then morale. It's the same thing in real life when people are fighting wars and over time during world wars and things like that. When you can keep the morale high, morale is everything in this game. If people are fired up to send their troops to die and they're fired up to run it down, then you're in a really, really good position by trying to keep that inspiration high.
Yeah, I think also it's very important to, as a warlead, to have the backing of the rest of your leadership. So if there are troublemakers, you need to be able to put them in check. And also people that generally are Debbie Downers that come on voice and they're like, why are we doing this? This is so bad. We're losing so much, la la la. Those people, you need to get them out of the kingdom. If they're not going to stop that bullshit, you need to just get them out of the kingdom. I mean, it's simple. If they start coming in there when you're fighting and it's a hard fight, let's say the trades aren't great, they're like, oh, why are we fighting these guys? If you're fighting a stronger kingdom, for example. Why are we fighting these guys? We're wasting our troops, wasting our resources when you're trying to lead a war. If those people come on voice, you got to get them out. You got to get them out of the kingdom. They're going to bring everything down. And as a warlead, you need to be able to have the power to tell the rest of your leadership, hey, this guy he can't be on voice or he has to get out of the kingdom. You can't have that sort of mentality around if you're trying to run a serious fighting kingdom.
No, now we're getting into the fun stuff. Go ahead, Peace.
I really like your point about backing up the war leads. I think that you have to have leaders that will come in and back up the war leads so that it's not, because it's not easy to put yourself out there. So I appreciate you making that comment. It's very true that leaders need to do that. Wonderful thing.
Yeah, you gotta.
Hold on. I gotta say that again. I was muted, but Andy was saying you got to convince, in the inspirational side of things, you got to convince them to run it down at sad face and have fun doing it while you're out.
Yeah, and also there are some players that you just can't convince and that are gonna complain and complain and complain. They go into alliance chat. They're like, "This is stupid. Why are we fighting this kingdom?"
Yeah.
They come on voice. What are we doing here? Why are we fighting? When they're just a normal member, not a leader, nothing. They're just bringing the entire morale down, making everyone else also start second guessing. Yeah, why are we fighting here? You can't have those people around.
Yeah,
you need to get rid of them. And that's
no doubt. Nipple Bear, thank you for jumping in, Nips. And Nips knows a little bit about this. He helps out with some more leading in 2293 where we're at. And when you get into that, guys, Peace, you had talked about leadership, and same thing with you, Cortex. Overarching leadership, your R5s being able to empower the war leads. There's nothing that has more impact in a voice call. When maybe things aren't going quite right, or you're getting a few backseat drivers and people saying, hey, what about this? Can we go burn this? Can we go do that? And there's too much chatter and you really need to clear chat. When the R5 comes in and says, listen, everybody shut up. So-and-so is in charge. They're leading it. Listen to them. And it really helps empower the war lead and helps get everybody focused on, okay, enough of the minutia. Stop talking so much. Don't listen to different leaders. You listen to the war lead and the war lead only.
I don't know if you need to say shut up, but
okay. Like guys.
I've said it a few times.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you both have.
I mean, you get into the heat of the moment, and you need everyone to really understand the seriousness of it. So, I mean, you just need everyone to understand, this is the person leading. This is who you're listening to, whether you like it or you don't like it. If you don't like it, get out of the kingdom. It's that simple. If you're not going to listen, if you're going to complain, if you're going to do your own thing, get out. It's that simple.
It's such a team game. I say it over and over again. It's a team game. It's like playing football. We have to have the right mindset. Right. I think it's interesting. This person has said something about leadership needs to assess early if it's worth fighting or not. That's good. We will talk about that in a little bit. It's going to come up. Yeah. But I think once the decision's made, though, and leadership has said this is what we're doing, and as a kingdom we're doing this, everybody in and everybody dies together.
Yeah, you go. Carino, it's a good point. You try to assess if a zone is worth it, if a fight is worth it. You're going to do that more in the abstract, on the macro side. But once you're in it, we're talking about the war lead side. This is what we're doing. Everybody's all in. We've got our marching orders. Let's go. And it works out. Nips, you're exactly right. Thank you for the super chat. Clear comms, everyone.
Because shut up is the most efficient way. Yeah, a quick STFU is the quick way to make sure everyone understands the seriousness.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think you're warleading right unless you're pissing somebody off. I think that's just part of it. Like, you have to be somebody that can tell people to be quiet.
Yeah, a quick STFU goes a long way.
Yes, it does. Oh, okay, let's go into our next one. And I might have a little, insight into this. Rally garrison preparation. Okay, there's multiple things that war leaders need to do. And number one, and Peace, this is one of the things that, like, it drives you crazy when war leaders aren't aware, maybe, of the different rallies and garrisons that you have. You have to be organized. You have to know who your rallies and garrisons are and who to use in certain situations, but you also have to prepare the rallies and garrisons. And let me hop over here to my city real quick. Let me give everybody a quick, a quick idea of what I'm talking about. When you go into Zone 5, you're nowhere near max tech, right? So you have to specifically tell your rallies and garrisons what to do. Everybody who's a good fighter wants to go 6 marches. I want this. Well, you can't have both. Okay, I've seen it happen over and over again where your good fighters who really have no clue about the strategy will go get a 6 march. Meanwhile, they're your rallies and their marching orders are sitting low, and you get in Zone 5 and your best rally is running a 2.4 million cap on a 3 million power or a 3 million cap fort, and you're going to get absolutely wrecked. Well, why did he do that? Oh, well, I got my 6 march. So you have to do the preparation, and that's just a part of it. Tech is very, very important because you can't do it both. If you're people who are big fielders, sometimes you're high level 400, 500, 200, 300, 400, 500 million power accounts who are going to be your big swarmers and your big field presence. You tell them to go get a 6 march, but they're not going to be your rallies. You got to specifically have your rally command or your rally players. They got to go with marching orders. They got to run that up. They got to run that up as much as they can with improved morale. You can't be a great garrison or a great rally by going and slamming all your crystals in the call to arms. That doesn't do anything for you in a garrison or a rally. Okay, you got to focus, improve morale. Everybody's got to get to level 6 before Zone 5, and then you focus more on what your specific troop type is. So those are some of the things you got to think about when you're trying to prep the war lead into a zone, making sure your tech is good. That's just on the tech part of things, but just rallies and garrisons in general. Cortex Peace, you got to get yourself in a situation to where you've had those conversations about what rallies and garrisons are working really well. You have to have those conversations about, what we're going to focus on, what we're going to do. And the war lead has to know that all before going in, right?
Yeah, I think 2 things. I have pretty strong feelings on this in some ways, because I've been in Zone 5 before where, nobody actually pushed their rally tank. So we had forts to take down and it wasn't decided and they didn't have a discussion and it wasn't prioritized, right? And everybody was just worried about themselves. As I said, like, you're planning for OL to see who's your rally leads and what they're going to do. Tech is a huge part of that. And secondly, don't make your war lead have to be the jerk and say, bro, stop your rally. We need somebody with max tech. Or what's your tech? Like, do not put up rallies and do not garrison. If you don't have the tech, don't make it awkward for everybody. Leadership should have this sorted out and have a list of who are the rallies and garrisons beforehand. Those should be the people doing it. And it's not because we want to be mean or favor people. When you're having these really long rallies, this is the difference between winning and losing over time, right? And how many deads you're taking in a zone, especially in these massive KVKs. So I think it is important, if you want to do a good job, have the right people doing it and, make sure that you're dialed in. If you are a rally and garrison person and you've got good stuff, talk to the leadership and let them know. Don't be afraid to show them your gear and say that you've got the tech. And I just love, one person said, don't TP to front lines unless you're a rally or garrison. Like, that's so huge, very simple. You're just going to get asked to move anyways. And then again, you make the war lead look like a jerk, but that should just be a no-brainer.
Cortex, I'll never forget being in a kind of a hard-fought KVK. We were in 2605, and one of our really good players was like, oh, I've got an arch rally. Let me throw it up. We're trying to rally down a fort, and he literally had a 2.4 million cap in zone 5. And
Right,
like,
and I think it happens a lot on the city rallies too. They're like, oh, well, I can't rally flags, but that means I can use my Tilitaker and rally cities with my 2 million rally cap. And it's like, no,
that's not how that works.
No, you still want your best rallies, rallying cities, whatever you're rallying, you want your best people doing it. You don't want to trade negatively or inefficiently in any way. Sure, you'll probably trade good if you're rallying a 50 mil city, farm account, whatever it is, right? But still, you could be doing even better, right? And if they swarm it, and so on, so on, so on. You should always be using your best people. So unless you are someone that has been recognized by your leadership as a rally, then don't just throw up a rally just because you feel like it or you want to be the important person. You need to see the bigger picture. It's not a solo game. This is a team game, and you need your best people doing the important stuff.
Yeah, and I can't emphasize that enough, that if you're going to be the high-end rally, one of the high-end rallies of your kingdom or one of the high-end garrisons, your fielding is going to suffer. I mean, you can ask Peace. Peace was notoriously our main garrison all the time. And she would she'd have to vent every now and then, like, I don't have 6 marches, even though I've got 7 sets of gear and all the commanders. I didn't do my 6 march for zone 5. I'm sitting in this freaking garrison with my infantry teched up, and I've got improved morale, but my call to arms isn't very high. So she always missed out on KP, and we heard about it plenty. She had to make sure and vent about that. But at the same time, that's what just get ready, because that's what your garrisons have to do in order to make the team better, right, Peace?
I don't think I whine that much. I mean, I enjoy Garrison a lot. I think it's
hey,
but...
I will never forget. Chad, get your ass in this flag and let me go field fight. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem.
I mean, I think it's just after 5 days of being in the same flag and nobody else takes a turn. The other garrisons understand. People should take turns. That's all.
Josh, you're bringing up a good point. Someone's rallying a city as we speak with 2.4 million when I have 2.8 million. Better geared. Exactly. And that's, guys, like, listen, sometimes city rallies, when you're trying to war lead, city rallies are like the hardest thing to control, because the minute you get a pass, people fire them up all over the place. And you're just like, guys, we still have objectives. We got to get this flag burn that's on the pass. And everybody's rolling city rallies, and it just... let me ask you this, guys. Is there a time sometimes, let's say you're working on a pass 7. You finally get the pass, and there are so many cities off territory. You've got to kind of balance it and maybe let your players have some fun. Like, everybody, you got 15 minutes. Everybody go fire up a couple city rallies, have fun with it, but then we got to get to this objective.
No, I think objectives first, always. And, like, if there's downtime, then there's room for city rallies. But you can't, like, just have people launching city rallies just because when you need everyone on the field. That's taking away field marches, right? And if it's actually gonna burn someone, that player wasn't online anyway, right? So it's not helping the enemy, or it's not helping you to zero this person, right? In this moment, if there's an important objective.
I've actually seen an entire field lose momentum because of
everybody starts rallying city. Okay, well then let me ask you this.
You need to have a hard stance on it,
and because it's a slippery slope for me, because we got into a zone, and let me just show you this this city rally we did. Where is it? Can't remember who it was against.
Oh, this is Chad trying to say.
Yeah, but listen, when you take a let me see, where's he at? Not this one. I should have had this pinned so you guys saw. Supreme.
There's times where we have had like an immediate fort drop at a zone. Like, as soon as we had the pass, the plan was for fort drop, and people were very disciplined when we had that. Like, I think just putting up some markers and clearing it on voice ahead of time. It's just, don't be afraid to make the call as a Warlead.
Okay, so I've got this report pulled up. So you get into a zone, and the rally lead of the enemy is in they're tagged differently than the territory they're on to help with the AoE. And if you can catch these people sometimes, now it's rare for me when I throw up a city rally. It's not an invite for everybody in the kingdom to throw up city rallies, but I can take a player like this that I rallied that was 110 million power, and I ripped 20 million power off, 27 million power off of them. And when they healed their hospital, it ripped 20 million power off of them. it literally set them back from a lot of stuff they have to do. So you can take out players from KVK if you do a city rally right, even if you're running objectives. Like, because the objective is, we got to get this guy to change tags, or we got to get this guy off of this territory. He's sitting on our territory because he ran and boarded in. And sometimes you got to run those city rallies to, number one, just absolutely blast them. But number two, to kind of help with the objective that you're trying to do.
I will say too, when we played with Yoda, a lot of people would give Yoda flack for going around swarming cities and being a little reckless, which, to be honest, sure. But a lot of times that was very strategic. I can't tell you guys how many times Yoda was able to go and swarm a city down of a player who was maybe a good player. It was a Garrison or the rally, and force them out of the zone and take a TP spot back. So sometimes there is that decision to be really strategic.
Your billion power Krakens being able to swarm down 100 million power city Cortex, that sound about right? I mean,
there's a time and a place.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very unique case though, but you can definitely like cause some pressure. For example, let's say the Garrison commander is off territory and his Garrison is in the flag.
Yeah.
You can swarm a city, force his Garrison back into a city, now the flag's vulnerable, right? The Garrison on the enemy side has to make a choice at that point. Do you recall your Garrison and defend your city, or do you keep it in the flag? So, yeah.
Humble, that's a great burn the forts, clear the field, then city rally. Once the city rallies start, the field disappears. Yes, it does.
Yeah, I mean, if you have some objective, any objective at all, like you're trying to burn a fort, you're trying to burn a flag, anything like that, no city rally should be going on. The only time it's okay is like if the only thing happening is people jacking around in the field, or like something like an imprison or something on like an important player that you know you can punish that's like way too deep, like something like that, then sure. But if you have objectives, real objectives, burning flags, burning forts, ignore city rallies. Do not launch city rallies, do not join them, do not. And also as the leadership, you need to have control of your players so they don't just rogue launch city rallies.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next topic. How many Warleads do you need? Is it more of like you try to have a couple of Warleads, or you have your main Warlead and then support for them? Or do you need multiple Warleads to cover downtime? I know that we always like to have kind of a therapy voice that the Warlead can go into, because when they've been doing it for hours on end, they just need a quick minute because they're frustrated and they're just at wit's end. But you always have to have somebody there to back them up. So, how many Warleads do you need?
I think you need one at a time. I don't think you want to have multiple people giving calls. I think you should always be identifying like who is the primary Warlead at the time. Sometimes you'll have a couple other like your main Garrisons, a couple like really experienced players who might be supporting the Warlead with some, because sometimes there is certain strategic warfare where like you are wanting some input as a Warlead and you do it as a team, but for the most part there should be one clearly identified Warlead. Then we always have someone for markers. We have someone for occasionally if you've got a bunch of different shells and Garrison swaps needed, you might have somebody on Garrison swaps, and somebody on door should always be kind of identified. So I think you need to just have different people playing different roles, and then also have like a clear understanding of when a Warlead goes offline, who's the other Warlead.
Yeah, I think.
And maybe you can have a couple people Warleading together. That's totally fine, as long as it's clearly identified and it's not random people calling stuff out.
Yeah, I'll never forget being, if you're Warleading and you need to go off for whatever reason, I'll never forget being in a kingdom and we were playing and I saw that Dom had R5 and I'm like, because I had just got on and I was just like, okay, what are we doing? Who's Warleading? And I was like, oh, Dom, you've got R5. I need ranked up in this Garrison. Wait, Dom, why do you have R5? And he said, well, the R5 left. They were Warleading, but they said they'd be back in 15 minutes. And I'm like, great, no problem. That sounds good. He goes, yeah, that was 2 hours ago. So you have to have, and he was like, I don't know what we're doing. And so you have to have good communication between the war strategy and the war leads. And then the war leads need to make sure, and the overall kingdom leadership needs to make sure that you have war leads on at all times. So everybody knows where to go. There are some times where it's downtime nothing's going on, and not everybody's in voice, and people are just kind of messing around, do what they want. But when the objectives are being done, you have to make sure, number one, a war lead is on, and number two, if one goes off, the other one comes on and picks up right where that one left off. Right, Peace?
Yeah, definitely.
Cortex?
But sometimes we call this shift change.
Shift change, yep. You go through your shift changes on your war leads. Cortex?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely like. I remember when we were in 1075. Sometimes I was on for like way too long, and I got forced off. I remember Negan, our R5 at the time. We called it forced relief, and he literally told me, "No, you're going to sleep because we need you back at this time."
Yes,
that's what we do.
But yeah, also a good comment. Some Argy said you'll always stand behind having one person that can make the final call, regardless. I think that's also very important, so that there's not too many cooks in the kitchen and that you start arguing in voice. There needs to be one voice, sort of, that's like a trusted person. That's like, okay, if he says something, it goes. Like, you kind of need that. If you don't have that, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, and like, if different opinions happen, then it makes a mess, right? And also, Corndog said he wants to know how you educate ball mechanics. So actually, I remember in 1075, me and Raz made a video on how to field fight. But yeah, you can educate through videos. You can educate in arc practice. Is an easy and obviously free way to do it. Bring everyone into arc practice and teach them how to fight. Just go run into mid and then fight against one another. So yeah, there are many ways you can teach ball mechanics, and also obviously there are a lot of great YouTube videos out there that can help them out. So find what works best and teach your players.
Yeah, and as we're looking at a ball right now, one of the things that war leads are really good at doing, you have to assess the field. If you get in a situation like 2377, they've got kind of some upper hand here. A lot of these low marches over here to the left. So the war lead might be saying, guys, push, because we can go wreck all these siege marches. You got to know when to push and when to pull back. And, you know, Cortex and Peace, that assessment has to be very quick. When you're looking at a murder ball, you know when you have momentum and your marches are pretty full and they're getting low, and you know when to go push. And then sometimes you got to know, hey, we all need to refresh. Everybody fall back, get back in your cities, refresh so we can get back out here. And that's also a very good a trait that the war lead has to have when they're looking at ball mechanics and fighting in the front lines, correct?
Sure, I'm just distracted by all those stupid siege towers at the altar.
It's unbelievable. Like, I look at them and I'm just like, I want to go kill all these things. Oh my gosh.
That's a lot of siege towers.
Okay, so let's get on to the next. And this can be kind of open ended, but it's just real quick do's and don'ts on the field. You know, there are so many do's and don'ts. Number one, the first thing is what? Follow markers, right? If you're not in voice, follow the markers. Don't go run off and do your own thing.
But be on voice, I think, is important. Like, if there's like a very strong reason that you have that you can't be on voice, like you're in public or you're obviously by people and you can't wear headphones or something, then fine. But if you can, under any circumstance, please be on voice. The information you get on voice is always going to be quicker and better than what you can get through markers. So it's very important to just be on voice if you can at all times. Makes it a lot easier for the leaders also to control the whole ball, rather than half the ball relying on markers, half the ball relying on voice. And they're not always 100% synced up. There's lag, there's other things that happen that the markers might not instantly get updated, right? So yeah, I think overall being on voice is a lot better.
That's a good note too on markers. It's really hard because I think you can't marker everything sometimes, especially like an altar fight. You're not markering all of that. Being on voice is the best way to, you know, get the nuance of what you're doing out there. And it's your responsibility to zoom out sometimes and actually, you know, what is the marker at? it's you know, not on the war lead or the marker war leads, to kind of make sure you see the markers, because if they put it right over your head, you can't find anything. So
I think do's and don'ts for go ahead, Peace.
I just saw someone said don't chase KP.
Yes, okay, but not just about the actual players. As Josh is fired up, don't chase KP. These are all the things we all hear all the time in murder ball fights. But as a war lead, some do's and don'ts with war lead, the biggest one I could say is you got to keep your cool. Okay. And we know things get frustrated. And that's why I'll reference it again. You always kind of have a therapy voice you can go into real quick and just decompress. Because I will never forget, there was even one time quite recently where we're on a time constraint before uptime of our enemy. And we're trying to get something burned and cut. We're trying to cut the territory. We're trying to do all that stuff. And the Warlead, they just completely lost their cool and started screaming at people. And I'll never forget watching the voice chat go from about 80 people to about 40 people, like instantly. When we were at wit's end, everybody's working their tails off. We're in Kingsland. We're trying to get things done. And the Warlead like just completely loses their cool. And they just start firing off on people and just screaming at people. And I watched half of the fighting force just disappear within 10 minutes. So as far as do's and don'ts of Warleading, you got to try to keep your cool. And if you're stressed and you maybe cross the line with telling somebody, they're awful or whatever, or whatever you're trying to get done, you always come back to, hey, sorry, I'm kind of losing it here. I'm going on, 4 hours of sleep. I'm just trying my best. So let me just kind of rein it back in here. You being able to keep your cool will help everybody overall, because people do not listen. It's a mobile game, and as serious as we take it, we're not trying to figure out, nuclear fusion here to save the world. We're literally playing a mobile game, and people don't want to be screamed at, even if they're doing something wrong. They don't want to be completely berated, and the Warleads have to keep their cool. You have to.
And no, he's not talking about Cortex or Ruz.
Cortex or Ruz. Yeah. And,
or me.
Yeah, or Peace. Ruz takes a lot of stick, okay? And we all probably need to put a poll up here to see how many people actually know Ruz. But Ruz is a spasmatic, okay? He is ADD on crack, y'all. And if he ever Warleads, it is marker 3, go. Okay, get up from marker 5. We're already at 5. Go. And it's all, you can't keep up with
fun.
The way
it's fun though.
But it is so much fun. It is so much fun. And the kid never really lost his cool. Ruz was always very, very, yeah. Now he would degrade people, no problem. That's just his humor, if you will. But he was always a lot of fun to play with, because he kept things fun. And regardless of if you're going to go face tank and fill your hospital, it's like you didn't care. Like everybody's just having fun doing it and going from one place to another. And that's all part of it. Yeah, Ruz blows. Absolutely. Everybody knows that. And Ruz took a whole bunch of heat, but he would actually go do it. He would actually step up and go do it when other people won't. They just want to sit back and say, "Oh, Ruz, you don't know what you're talking about." Well, are you going to do it? Are you going to step up and do it? Or are you going to backseat drive and just tell everybody what you think and not actually do anything? Yeah. And so, but that's
other do's and don'ts I thought of while I was sitting here. Do you still want me to say those?
Yeah.
The teleporting and then going offline is super annoying. I should say that on behalf of everybody who's watching, that we all don't like that. So teleporting, going offline, taking up the TP spots, and then I agree with the leaders not losing their cool, but I think the do's are also to kind of step up and bring the energy. And if you do need a break, communicate about it. To take your breaks, or if you're feeling frustrated, go and use the anger management chat or vent to the other people in leadership and to kind of prevent yourself from losing it. It can get kind of stressful.
Cortex, you're loving this. These siege towers are getting wrecked on the front line.
That's good, man.
We want to go trigger Cortex. We're going to talk about how great siege towers are for the game.
Yeah, no bubbles on front line.
I won't even get triggered because I haven't still not heard a compelling argument for why they're a good addition to the game.
Oh, you know what else I would say too? Is the position of flags. If you're dropping flags, be mindful of your position of dropping flags. What that would do for you. Now that's more of a territory thing, but a lot of Warleads drop flags. Just be mindful of where you're dropping.
Absolutely. Fabian, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for joining the Spartan membership. Be sure you have your Discord, which I know you already have it linked to your YouTube. We'll see you in the Spartan chat, man. My guy, been around all those communities, and I think at Chiskel's Legendary Guard for a long time. Thanks for jumping in, buddy. Good to see you. And You know, one of the things that you get into on markers, let me just help everybody understand something. If you're seeing this murder ball here that we're fighting in, you're putting up markers. Well, you want to put a marker up above. That way, whatever the text of the marker, when people are fighting in dot mode, they're not having to contend with a big marker sitting right here in the middle. And so be mindful where you put your markers. You always want to put it above where the fighting is. You can put it where the fighting is, but just put it a few ticks above. That way, when the marker pops up, people aren't sitting here saying, oh my God, I can't see in dot mode. Get the marker down. The other side to that is if you want all these people right here not fighting, if you're mad because you're trying to get a flag over here burned and all these people are over here, I spam markers like crazy. And I'll just put 10 markers up right here to where nobody can see dot mode. And every marker will say, go to marker 1, or if we'll have marker 1 over here trying to burn a flag. And I'll just spam it. And so you can...
I just type a bunch of random letters that don't actually say anything, and they're all confused.
Or just put a bunch of X's there, and just as long as it'll go, and you just spam the marker so people get the hint. Because sometimes they get in fighting, and they're chasing, and they're having fun doing it, and they kind of they lose the goal, or they lose the tactics of what you're trying to do. So you can spam markers, and people that play in dot mode, which most people do, when they can't see because you got so many markers up here, they'll get the point. So those are part of the do's and don'ts. Be sure to do that sometimes if you have to get people's attention. We move on to the next thing. I like this.
Sure.
Okay. We've touched on this just a little bit. How to deal with players who don't listen. Ooh, it's a good one.
0.
You don't have to 0. No, that's not necessarily what you do. Sometimes the players don't listen. This is one thing that I've seen Warleads have a tough time with. Sometimes they have a tough time with calling people out by name. And so I think there's kind of a fine line there. I'm always a guy that calls people out by name. I mean, I'll straight up say if these Ragnar Black, get back, dude, get back, stop with this. You know, I'll say stuff and I'll directly tell people, and I'll even tell the Warleads sometimes if they're saying, God, people are just out here fighting. I was like, just call them out by name. I mean, they don't think you're talking to them unless you actually call them out by name. And that's one of the best ways to deal with people who aren't listening. Just call them out by name, especially if you're in voice with them. And if you're in voice with them, say, you know, Cortex, I see you in voice. You can hear what I'm saying. I'm talking to you. Get your ass back. And so sometimes
your call's dumb.
You have to do that. And then Cortex he pouts and gets off the call and gets mad, and nobody can tell him what to do. But that's sometimes dealing with players who don't listen. You can try to talk in the generalities, but I can't stand Warleads that do that too much when they're saying, guys, get back. Well, who are you talking about? Because this is psychological, and this is a societal, this is a sociological, societal. This is a sociological fact. When you're talking to a group of people, if people in that group are doing the wrong things and you say, guys, get away from there, don't do that. Psychologically, they don't think you're talking about them. You're talking about somebody else. You can't be talking about me. And so we always say on voice sometimes, and some of the Warleads will say, if you don't think I'm talking about you, I am talking about you, without trying to call them out by name.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other ways you guys like to deal with people? Do you get in PMs with people sometimes and say, listen, you're doing great in the field. You try to give them some encouragement, but then say, hey, you've got to rein it in, or you can't go chasing stuff.
Just tell them they're stupid, and if they get butthurt, just let them leave.
Yeah, I think I definitely like to give people a chance and give them some feedback throughout the KVK if I see them like kind of habitually doing shit. Because what will end up happening is, like in 2605, we made cuts that weren't just based on your KP and a lot of kingdoms don't just make cuts based on KP and your stats. Like they'll make cuts based on
who actually listens.
A KP chaser did not listen to anything we said. They just didn't get it, So I will try to give feedback to people in PM. I mean, yes, I will put markers up. After a while, 100% I'll kick people.
At what point do you kick
I don't care how high power they are or how much they spend.
Good question here by Humble.
I think everyone should follow those rules.
Yes, good question here by Humble. Peace. How long before you just kick them from the alliance? Because you've done that too.
Well, I'll do a few markers first. I'll do a few markers for sure and call them out. But It depends on what we're doing. Like if it is really intense and it's like we need to get this flag down, or maybe they're doing something that's really distracting and not cool, and they've been repeatedly doing it. And yeah, I personally don't have a problem kicking people, and I'll say like it's not personal. Maybe you weren't paying attention. So I'm not mad at you. I just need to follow.
I had a.
And I think when you do that to a couple people, and most people are like, "Oh, damn, they kick people here," so then they listen more.
If you are a Warlead and you have to go to you're resigned to having to kick somebody, okay, you always start that conversation with a positive, right? Because if it's somebody that's been online and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're just going completely crazy in the field and they're one of your better fighters and they listen, but they lose consciousness, or they just completely lose their minds and they completely ignore markers, and you literally got to kick them. The first thing you say to them is not, "You're awful." The first thing you say to them is, "Hey man, you're doing awesome. And I appreciate so much of your help. I'm sorry I had to kick you, but I had to get your attention. Don't take offense, just join back to the alliance." So you always want to give them credit if it's good people doing what they're supposed to be doing.
I'll say this. I've definitely been the bad guy bad girl time and time again, kicking people or markering over their heads. And most of the players that were there and present thanked me for it afterwards, because most people there don't like it either. So just so Warleads know, most people are probably feeling the same way about it. So you should feel empowered to know that the team probably supports your decision. Just don't do it over the top. Don't have to be such a jerk about it.
Yeah, just be like Cortex. Kick him from the alliance. Never let him back. Tell him to migrate.
I mean, that's effective, bro.
It is very effective.
I like when Cortex is on and he is like definitely more of the bad cop sometimes. It gives me a break.
Well, and it's kind of fun watching this ultra fight while we're talking about Warleading. You can see they're putting up markers where to get and where to go, where to go set up. You got players like Mars here. I guarantee you he's just trying to run it down so we can get a march in quicker. Sometimes when it's like, hey, get your ass back to the ball. If you're in voice, Mars can tell his Warlead like, hey, I'm just running it down. Like it's like Arc. I'm just trying to run it down so I can get a march back to the ball quicker. And some of that stuff is pretty good. But you got to communicate that, because when people see one or two people go in, everybody starts going in, and you got to listen to the Warlead. And so great feedback here. Great Z, good to see you, man. Argy's been doing a good job. Andy, I want to get to this comment. Yeah, you just call about someone has got to be the bad guy for the sake of the rest. And and that's appreciated even more when you're trying to be with competitive people that understand the game and experienced people. They understand if you got to call them out. Sometimes I got to get called out sometimes. And I know as much as
About that.
Yes, Peace hates calling me out, but she's like, Chad, what are you doing? Like, everybody else is going to do that if you do it. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. I'll get back to the ball here. And you just don't take offense to it. You just know that we're all trying to do stuff to get better and be competitive. So let's go into the next topic here, which is kind of something that a lot of kingdoms have to deal with. It's uptime to downtime and back again. This is one of the things we had talked about, Peace, where when you're in your uptime and it coincides with the downtime of the enemy, you cannot be complacent. You got to push hard as the Warlead, because you only got so much time to get X amount of flags burned. You can't waste time. You got to have rallies set and pinned on burning flags. You're just waiting for them to heal. You got to really focus and think about your uptime compared to their downtime, because when they get uptime and you go downtime, they're going to do the same thing to you. So I've seen it to where if you can be as efficient as possible, you'll win a zone because you're much more efficient with your uptime than the enemy is with their uptime. Yeah? No? No comment from either of you?
Is that a question?
Yeah, so it was a question. Your thoughts?
I think the biggest thing I've seen is that when it is downtime, what you're doing is, like, if it is uptime and you're switching into downtime, everybody's really organized with the ball and you're doing markers, and people get so annoyed when it's the enemy's downtime is starting and there really is no point anymore to having balls. And so the markers feel really useless, and it feels overly strict. So Warleads need to pay attention to when we do just need to like let it be a bit of a free for all and let people have fun. And that's sometimes hard to notice when you're in the heat of it, because I know some people will jump on. It's like, why are we even doing markers right now? This is stupid. But we had been in really intense fighting for the 2 hours before them. So you definitely need to know when you need to switch gears and just let people do whatever they want to do and kind of free for all it. And then the biggest thing, like I think you mentioned this, is when people, when you have an opportunity, when you switched into your uptime time and the enemies in downtime, you need to take advantage of that and not wait and be indecisive. That will lose a KVK.
Sure. Cortex, what do you think when you're doing stuff? And because sometimes you'll be on schedule to where you're awake during our downtime, and you're either trying to help lead some people and trying to get some things done, or try to mitigate the flag burning as much as possible. But how do you juggle that? How much importance would you tell Warleads, like when you identify uptime and downtime, here's what you need to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you need to identify some different things, like what can you hold realistically and what you have to give up, because you have to be willing to make sacrifices. If you think you can hold everything, whereas in reality you can't, then you might start losing on more fronts than you need to, right? Because then it might all start collapsing together if you're spread too thin. So I think trying your best to stall as much as possible during downtime and hold what you can, and realize what you can't hold and what's maybe not as important to hold, and focus on find the things that matter the most and where you can get back from when you go into uptime again, right? Like, okay, where do we want to be when we enter uptime again? Let's try to hold that, and then we can fight back from that position, right? You need to sort of be able to make sacrifices, and yeah, that sort of thing. I think is the main thing.
Uptime to downtime and back again is very important for Warleads to know when your uptime is, know when you can push, know when you got to ping everybody to get online to go push, coordinate your pushes.
Well, I think.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I think also it's a bit of a psychological issue when people say uptime, downtime, because even if you're in quote unquote downtime, it doesn't necessarily means during this hours you can't do anything. Like, they might not be as active during that time. You might maybe have some more people than usual at that time. You need to always gauge the situation and not decide, okay, during these 6 hours or 7 hours every single day we do nothing and just defend. You need to just see what the situation is like and be able to adapt on the fly, and see if you can do something at that time, then do something at that time. Even though you're technically speaking in downtime, if you have the possibility to do something and you see your enemies not maybe as present as you were expecting, or you're more present than you were expecting, then go do something. And also, it's going to demoralize players if it's always like, okay, during these hours we don't do anything. That's going to make players not want to come online. So you need to be like, okay, we're fighting 24/7. At any time you can come on and do something. And if we have enough, we'll be able to maybe make a push, or maybe hold more than we were expecting, for example. So you need to really decide on the fly and not have sort of set in your mind, yeah, this is our downtime, this is when we lose. You can't really have that mindset.
I think this is a really good segue into our next topic, pass swarming and leading, okay? So pass swarm, and we're going to talk about swarm in general, because Andy and Minty and you guys are in the chat. You know, when you are in your uptime, and Akar, thank you, man, for the super chat. What's up, buddy? Good to see you here. And you guys, by the way, somebody needs to let me know, where are we at on the likes? Are we in a good place on the likes here? I don't even know.
2 likes.
We got 2 likes? Okay, good.
5. Got 5. Also, you might want to check your... I tried telling you in your DM, but you probably didn't see the writing on your screen is cut off on the right-hand side. If you can make it
is?
go to the left.
Let's go.
Yeah, but maybe you can't change it. I don't know if you can change it.
I can sure change it. Here we go.
You just got to put it to the left margin.
There we go. That works out.
If you guys are like me and perfectionists, then that was maybe bugging you.
Okay, so we're talking about pass swarming, leading, or swarming in general. You know, you want to identify who your pass swarmers are, who's max tech, who has the infantry, or the march caps and all that. Look at 2377 pushed all the way to the pass. How much time left on the altar real quick? Let's look at that. 5 minutes? Ooh. Yeah, at this point, I think you're going to see a lot of these guys. Let me just take a look at the map here. They're probably going to go up to this one. Yep, there they all are. These are all people who are maybe offline and not fighting down here. But the GG by 2377. So when you're wanting to swarm a pass, okay, And as a war lead, what do you have to do ahead of time? Peace.
Just really important to communicate who is going to be swarming, and usually we have a buffing marches ready to go. We've called all that out ahead of time, and everybody else is marked to be back from the pass. Pretty straightforward stuff. I think it's just always helpful to do this all ahead of time because everybody's a little nervous before pass open. Well, some people are, and it's better to have that information ahead of time to know exactly who should be up there. And I mean, you're always the March microer. I always left the passes up to you. That's actually more your thing.
Yeah.
Swarming.
So Cortex, when we would look at a pass and we're trying to swarm it down, you got to make sure it's your max tech players. You want to have the right marches. Like, Herman is very important. Boudica's even still really good for a pass swarm. You want to put as much skill damage as possible. Huo, Nevsky is probably the best pass swarming march. But more than that, you got to make sure everybody who's getting ready to enter the zone, you got markers up to where, and you can kind of see it here, everybody's over here, your pass swarmers are over here to the left, and everybody else is over here to the right. And you don't mix that up because the last thing you want, and this is what you got to do, is if somebody who's not supposed to be swarming the pass runs in and starts swarming the pass, you got to kick them immediately to where they can't even touch the pass, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't have the wrong people swarming the pass. It needs to be stated clearly that, like, yes, there are people doing this. If you haven't been specifically contacted about this, you're not one of those people. If you go near the pass, you're gonna get kicked, and keep them kicked until the pass is taken because they might mess up with something. Just don't risk it, is what I'm trying to say. Because if you get one of those wrong marches on the pass, it's gonna mess everything up.
And do the leadership a favor and actually read the things they put out. Please don't be that guy that comes on 10 minutes before the pass swarm and says, "Oh, who's swarming?" and it's supposed to be you, and you just haven't. Like, please don't be that guy, okay? Like, the leadership just does all ahead of time, and all you need to do is kind of dial in and look at the chats and read it.
Yes. You got to do the prep ahead of time. You got to know who's swarming the pass, and you got to know who is designated to do that, who's designated to buff, who's bringing the buffing marches, all that fun stuff. Peace. Here's your favorite one. Know when to pull out, okay? And so, when we talk about this is one of those things. Not just on the acute situation in the field, like, because you guys have been seeing, the Mercia camp here. They've been pulling back when they need to. You've seen the 2377 people. They had them all pushed up here, but then all of a sudden they all ran back. You got to know when to pull out. You got to know when to pull back. In the acute on the fielding, and when you do that, sometimes you got to be pretty forceful, don't you, Peace?
Yeah, I think the point too with this one, as it pertains to war leading, is that the war leads and the strategists, if your people in leadership aren't actually the ones that are war leading on the front lines, then having that communication with each other and making that decision. The worst thing is when we're pushing players to fight and they are giving their all, and then you pull out and people feel ticked off because they were giving their all. I think you need to make those decisions quickly and be concise, and even tell people ahead of time if the plan is to, not go all in. Or, but again, like we said earlier, once the decision's made and we are pulling out or we're all in on a zone, the whole team needs to kind of be all in together.
Yep, and more on the kind of 20,000 foot level, if you're pushing flags and you realize you're kind of hitting downtime and you want to kind of pull back, then and you burned enough, you can't get anything burned more, they're getting into uptime, you got to be able to assess that and make the decision to, okay, we're going to go defensive here. And we did that in our Kingsland last KVK. We were going against 2934, they were overwhelming in the field. And we got our territory built. We were trying to burn as much as we could. We were trying to advance as much as we could when Kingsland opened. And it was a very poignant time when Maury gets on and he says, okay, we go defensive. Everybody stop. You can put up rallies, pin them just to hold them. But we're not going to go try to push these flags. We're going to go defensive. And the tactic really worked. So you got to know when to do that. You got to know when to go defensive. And the other part of that piece is that you know, a lot of players like to fight offensively. They like to field fight. They like to do that. And you got to be careful because when you say, hey, we're going defensive, all of a sudden they go log off because they don't just want to sit by a flag and swarm down rallies. Even though it can be a lot of fun, you're picking off marches and you're doing different things within your own territory, but you always just got to be real cognizant of that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there is also the bigger question of, you know, when to give up. I don't know if we're having that conversation right now, but I think you need to be really in touch with your player base and know where people are at with their speeds and resources and kind of be attuned to that. I'm a huge fan of town halls. And, you know, even just being on voice with your players, talking with your players, being active in your chats. I think this is like kind of above and beyond war leading, but it kind of informs and works together when you're making those decisions. When to pull out, when to put up the white flag.
And that, you know, on the 30,000 foot level, it's what you're talking about, Peace. I'm looking at our zone 5 over here that we had with 365. And we had a good fort wall built up right here, had a lot of territory. We were holding this structure right here, but we had this structure in another zone 5. And, you know, you gotta, as leadership, you gotta figure out, okay, are we taking bad trades? Is it worth fighting? Is it worth going to do? And at that time, you got to make a decision as a zone. Now, this is more on the war strategy rather than just acute war leading, but you got to make that decision. They have to be able to rely on the war leads. So when your strategists and your R5s and stuff are trying to make decisions overall, they're going to go to the war leads, and the war leads have to tell them, you know, hey guys, we can't. I can get everybody online, and we can't push. You have to be a good war lead in the sense that you have to be truthful with your leadership. As optimistic as you might be, you got to tell them like, hey, I've been leading the fight. I know our players. I know our uptime, and we're not making any headway. And players are just getting crushed, and they're getting absolutely murdered in the field. We need to, and you have to give your overall war strategists and your planners the advice of, we need to get out of this zone. I mean, I know it's hard to do, Peace, but that's what you have to do sometimes.
For sure.
Ghost.
Sorry, I got distracted.
No, that's okay. Ghost, thank you so much for the super chat, and always good topics to bring up. Alex, give me some flux super chat on YouTube. Oh my guy. Okay, are we close to 100 likes? So, guys, if you're watching, throw a like on here. We get to 100 likes, we'll do some memberships for you. Like the stream.
Cortex has to bounce. He had something come up in real life. I'm gonna have to go soon. FYI.
Great. Well, I can finish up this stuff. Let's kind of.
What's the next one? What's the next one?
Yeah, let's go ahead and plow through these pretty quick. Managing multiple
I like the next one.
touch points. Yes, Peace. When you manage multiple touch points, that's hard to do. It's not easy.
Yeah, well, actually, it's my favorite. I think I look back at some of our KVKs, being in uptime with multiple touch points. Probably one of my favorite war leading strategies. Multiple pins or anchors. If you don't know what that is, that's when you have a siege march join from zone 4 so that you can pull the pin at any point in time to release your rallies. So rallying multiple objectives at the same time and doing something we would endearingly call the left, right, left. These are my favorite parts of KVKs where, you know, we're kind of managing a larger area of territory and maybe enemies in downtime, maybe we've got a lot of people on and we're able to kind of make a decision about hitting multiple flags at a time. It's pretty fun. It's my favorite part of war leading and really exciting. Again, you have to just be really on point following leaders, and being on voice is awesome at these moments. It changes though when we're in defense. Hit multiple touch points. I think Cortex covered that a little bit about having some priorities about realistically how much you can hold. Yep. That's all I have to say about that. That is 100% true. And I think too.
Oh, wait, I broke my mic again.
say-
I broke my mic again, Peace. And what I was trying to say, I mute myself, is and I gotta kind of revisit this piece. I know you're on a time crunch, but we're almost done anyways. You got to have somebody on the swarm, okay? And whether a lot of the times that's the warlead, and that's the warlead being able to either say we are not swarming until I say, or you call somebody else out. Like Peace in Cortex will warlead, but then they'll say, Chad, you got the swarms, and you got to look at the white numbers that the Garrison's putting on there. So anybody that's experienced in swarming, you know. A lot of you guys that are experienced in swarming, you know when is the right time to swarm. And you got to make sure that person is clear and concise. And so from that standpoint, there has to be one voice on the swarm, okay? And you don't need a bunch of people in chat saying, are we swarming? Are we swarming? Are we swarming? And you just got to nip that in the bud and say, guys, nobody is swarming. Listen to Chad or listen to whoever on the swarm. And that, because if you decide you're not going to listen to anybody, you're just going to go full in and swarm, you're generally rallying from a different coalition or a different alliance. And the minute somebody, as you're standing on the flag, somebody starts swarming, everybody starts getting crushed with AoE because some idiot tried to swarm and they didn't listen to the swarm call. And so there's a couple different ways to do that. You have to have one voice saying when to swarm. And you've also got to make sure and let everybody know sometimes if you're trying to kill a building flag or fort or something, you'll hear the warlead say, let the rally tank, the minute the rally hits, everybody swarm. And then it makes it easy, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think even just making the calls to be in different alliances for your rally garrisons, a lot of people are kind of doing their own thing and fielding. It really is the warleads that need to be making those calls. Like, okay, hey, so-and-so, you're rallying. So-and-so, you're garrisoning. I need you to switch alliances. And tell them which alliance to go into. Like, that's kind of on the warlead to be that precise about where they should be.
Absolutely. And so the swarms are always a lot of fun, but you just got to make sure you got somebody experienced that's calling out the swarms, and you can't have people talking. I mean, if there's ever a poignant time that everybody has to be listening to one person, it's when you're about to swarm. You don't want to swarm too early. You want to do it right. And that's kind of how that thing works. So last thing we'll get into here, and Peace might be having to jump off pretty soon. But as a warlead, what is... Oh, wrong one. We're going to put this up here. This will be our last bullet point today. Let me get this going. Put it over here. Nope. Put it right here. Worst warlead moment ever. And Peace, are you still with us? Do you want to hammer that out real quick before I get into mine?
A worst warlead moment ever. I mean, I don't know.
It can be you or somebody else.
Okay, so I mean, for me personally, I think it's just been moments where we've lost, and I just feel a sense of responsibility. And I don't know if it was anything in particular. But seeing some warlead moments, I'd just say like there's been moments where we completely had momentum and completely lost momentum based on taking too long to make decisions. And we as in like this was other warleads. But just taking too long to make decisions and not capitalizing on the time we had meant probably we lost, So that was probably the worst for me.
The absolute worst thing I ever saw. You guys really want to know about it. I won't call anybody out by name. We are in Kingsland, okay? We're trying to get like one last flag burned, okay, to literally cut the enemy. And the enemy's getting in their uptime, and it's really hard. We still have field, but we know there's only a short amount of time. And we get on this flag, and I kid you not. Let me give you a good visual here, okay? Like, we get on this flag right here. And all of our marches are over here swarming the mess out of it. And we're just trying as best we can. They got some cities here. They're filling it up, but we can get it down. Okay. And we're in Kingsland, and it's one of those calls as a swarm. Everybody swarm. I don't care if you're 80 million power. Everybody go swarm, put the buffs on it, do everything you got to do. And we didn't even have a rally with it. We were just raw swarming it, and we're killing it. We're killing this flag. And it is barely staying alive. Meanwhile, I look over here, and a 400 million power whale is field fighting. And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Why aren't you swarming the flag? We have 80 million power players over here swarming this flag. What are you doing? And his comment to me was, oh, I'm keeping their swarmers off of our swarmers. And I quit at that moment. I think I quit the game for about 5 minutes. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. What the hell are you talking about? You're 400 million power. Get your ass over here and swarm this flag. Meanwhile, we've got like our hardcore players who've already lost 20 and 30 million power, who are sitting at 85 million power, and they're swarming, and everybody's trying to get the flag down because it had one more burn on it, and we couldn't get it burned because our 400 million power player with 7 meta marches is over here to the right, just field fighting. And I about lost my mind. I about lost it, okay? And then that same player literally asked, hey, can I go rally this 40 million power city in Kingsland? And I was just like, okay, you got to go. Like, you literally have to get out of the kingdom. You are completely counterproductive. But those are the kind of moments that you get into that you're just like, oh my gosh, it just drives you absolutely crazy. And so, you know, everybody's got those crazy moments. And if you guys got them, throw it up in your... Throw it up in the chat. Nah, I'm not going to name names. Anybody that knows me, they know who it was. It's just the worst. I was like, what are we doing? Oh, man. It was pretty entertaining. So that kind of wraps up our series and what we were talking about with Peace and Cortex. So we can hang out in the stream here. Everybody can kind of take notes. I'll go ahead and change the scene so we got kind of more of the game here. And you guys can see you guys like my little my Santa Claus? I call it Santa Chad. I like it. It works out really well. My Santa Chad. Oh, man. Looks like 2377 is going to take this altar. It's going to be good. Oh, you guys are talking what happened to this guy. Should all T4 players fight T5 players when you are trading negative? Jonathan, that's a philosophical question. If there's a way as a T4 player you can bring buffing marches out, because you got to remember, regardless of how hard you hit with T4 or T5, if you've got buffing marches that are helping your overall, if you're running like a Trajan or you're even running Joan Prime, you know, she's putting rage on things. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can still be effective. The toxicity in LKC. Well, Corn Dog, that's like gone away. And a lot of people don't like it, okay? So when you look here, here's your LKC. They put everything in threads now. So you're not just seeing stuff pop up down here in the text chat, stuff pop up where people are just being toxic. You actually have to go into threads and see what people say about certain things. And it can still be a little bit toxic, but we always tell players like, hey, you can have fun, you can troll a little bit, but don't be toxic. Don't be racist. Don't be stupid. And that's kind of how LKC, everybody's like that. So, but you gotta let people have some fun, putting up reports, you know, kind of trolling some of the players you're fighting against. That's always kind of a cool thing. Guardian, we got to do another League of Legends. If you guys missed it, we did that last week, and it was a lot of fun watching me being an idiot run around League of Legends. So, Josh, did we get to 100 likes, buddy? Let me get my like counter going here. 97, boys, come on. Just need a couple more. There we go. Get to 100. Let's go. Do a little bit of this. Bring some members back into the fray. Oh, we were gifting so many memberships when we first started the channel. It was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, a lot of people like, hey, bring back the OG Lost Kingdom chat. They miss it. It's always pretty interesting. So, threw out some memberships here. Chrysula, there you go. Green Ranger. Chris, Blackstone, Logix. Let's go. Sam Kraken. Genie! Hey!
Yo!
Genie lurking. Great player. Jonathan got his membership back for Renz. There you go. Oh, Guardian, you're going to join League of Legends.
Yo!
You miss your membership already? Well, it's not that expensive, bro. It's pretty cheap. Oh. Yeah, Josh was definitely the first 300 Club member. Don't forget the perks of the 300 Club membership. You get put into a chat with us to hang out, and we do a monthly account reviews with you. We help your account. It's really beneficial. We even have, Stafford's the king of the kingdom, and he literally has a 300 membership, so he can give his top fighters account reviews every month, and he'll even have like a little contest or something on his Discord to where people win an account review done by me, and it works out really, really well. Or Cortex will do it for me on the account reviews. He and I think a lot alike, and so it works out really, really well. And so the 300 membership is always something we want to bring value to. And for the most part, everybody, really exclusively, everybody who's joined the 300 Club, they love the account reviews. They love being able to work on their account and have some guidance there, because honestly, if I would have had somebody to help me with my account, I would have saved so much time and money. And so from that standpoint, Josh, thank you for the 1 month membership. New phone. Who dis? You know who it is. Kim, thank you. Psychological warfare and good KVK is also part of the game. The censorship shouldn't go too far in the chat. Already made memes, got blocked. Absolutely. Yes, Shadow, I saw that with Chisco. He got gifted a membership on mine as well. Mr. Praz, thank you so much for jumping into the Spartan membership, bro. Appreciate that. Throw hype emojis up for our boy, Mr. Praz. It's great.
Yo!
Yeah, Josh, how you doing in your KVK? You guys just chilling in Zone 5? Did you win the zone, or are you still just stalemated? Cut a huge flag line. Send me quartz. Let's go look. You guys fighting right now? You taking a break? Okay, so 2377's got this one. We're just chilling down here in this one. Getting my honor. Let's go. And barb chaining with this one. You guys want to see a barb chain? We'll do one real quick. Yeah, Josh his account is pretty simple. Josh 7413. Pretty simple. Yeah, stalemates in Zone 5s are just brutal sometimes. They are absolutely brutal. Okay, let me go over here. So are we enjoying the Santa Chad? I'm about to go full Santa Chad mode, okay? That means I'm going to break out this guy. Where is he? Let's see. Where's my Santa Chad avatar? There he is. I can break that out. I got a particular city skin I like to run. I changed my name to Santa Chadsky. It's good. I like it. It's not quite there yet. Once we get to like 2 weeks before Christmas, that's when I do it. It works out really, really well. Got any more fighting? Let's see. Here we go. Let's watch this a little bit. So I always like to watch altar fights because people are bringing the best of the best. They are literally bringing their best march. And you can see who's not out here, but there's a lot of Luches, William Wallace, Ragnar, Nevsky, Huo. Let's see, who else is out here? You got a couple of Jones out here, Zugays, of course. Somebody had made an interesting comment saying, hey, and it's a tactic we've all used. You throw one T1, Cav march into your archer march, and your icon won't show up as an archer. It'll show up as integrated. And that's a video that I'm kind of working on, trying to figure out, and it works out really, really well if you do that. Chatsky, CPMs on chords on Josh. We got it here, Josh? Let's go. We'll go look. So this is an interesting KVK. Who else in this one? I forgot. We've got 824. Ooh, we got some cut territory. Let's go. GG, good job. Where's the city rallies? Anybody over here? I would try to get to this pass right here. Oh, yeah. That's what you got to get to. Here's where the fighting should be. Burning. Great. Where you at, Josh? Where's your city? Get in the fight, man. Daddy Prime? I like that name. There you go. Josh keeps saying he's free to play. No, he's not. Absolutely not. Yes, you're right, Alex. It's too obvious. Plus, if I see an integrated icon, I'm gonna hit that too. Because I'm thinking it's a Trajan or something. I'm just gonna go murder it. Are you guys still touching up here? Oh, they built the flag right on your face, bro. Had a little fight over the Castrum Victoris. Anybody else got any chords? There's not much going on in KVK. This was kind of the off weekend where there's no Kingslands opening today. A little bit back, you're there. Where you at, bro? You can always just send me a chord of where your city is. Unless you're sleeping. Ooh, 3530 KVK2 map. Okay. Is there anything going on, Bashal, before I go over there? 35. Are they in the same one as 3585? I think they might be. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. What are we doing here? Kingsland Open. Where are the allies? They're allied. They're not fighting. Where's the fight? You can't tell me to go to a KVK when there's not a fight. Oh, this is the one where 3585 got locked out. I don't even know if they're here. They get locked out over here. We got any fighting going on? Yep, no fighting. Let's see. There we go, Josh. We'll go back to you. Shadow, the pass opening on Wednesday, I believe the 11th at 15 UTC. There's our boy with the 5-year-old infantry 10% health city skin. Let's go. You've racked up about almost a 500 million KP so far in Zone 5. Let's go, Josh. Let's go. Are we going to push over here? Oh, it's healing. Go get it. Go get it, boys. You want a siege tower, Guardian? The Coalition Honor Rewards. I did not. I guess that's one thing I can go look up. If you guys are enjoying the stream, just throw a like on here while you're on it. Helps me out. Helps support the channel. Channel's all about you guys. Got a couple of fun videos. We're going to be streaming really all day Wednesday. I'll be fighting my face off all day Wednesday, all evening, streaming like crazy on Wednesday. It'll be fun. We should have a lot of fun in this past 7 fight. You know, we'll see if our enemies kind of switch around some mapping. Your next commander, Black Mamba. Let's go. R4, R5 gets more rewards from Coalition Honor rewards. Oh, GG. That's not going to be nepotism run rampant. If devs don't allow cross troop type swapping, wouldn't it be a big L for them because they miss the opportunity to make the players invest in legendary range commanders? Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of that. I think if you're referring to commander swapping, yeah, you should be able to commander swap just anybody. I don't think they're going to do that to stay exclusive to a troop type, but we'll have to see. Rafa Pass 7 opens on Wednesday, 15 UTC. We'll be live, hammering it. You guys want to see some? You want to see some counter rallies? I gotta put up a few counter rallies. I gotta get them on stream, and then I gotta create a video. I was thinking something to the effect of the art of the counter rally. Jonathan, you send me a deal with Commander. Here you go. There you go. Who is this? Huo Joan, my favorite march. There you go. Well, you're running from this guy. Here we go. Oh. Eesh. What are you letting this Mina YSG target you and trade positive on you for? Good job. What about this one? Not much here. First one. Ay! There you go. You got him. Yeah, we'll light up the counter rallies nonstop. That's what I love about Pass 7. Whether we have the pass or they have the pass, it don't matter. I roll up the counter rallies and the rallies, and it's fine. It is entertainment. Josh, let's get this thing burned. What's going on here? Go tag somebody. Tell them to put a rally on it. Are we coming down this way? Oh, we're building. Okay. Building and burning. You guys can do a lot of damage on it. Well, again, this is past 9, but you want to hit some jump points over here if y'all can. Because when you get into this zone for zone 6, you're going to want to try to put as much pressure as possible on the jump points. Let's see. 7 opens here. 8 opens here. So you're going to get in this zone. They're going to get into this zone before you do. Okay. I see what's going on now. Yeah, it's going to be good. Oh, man. Got anything else to do in the game? I had some armaments I was going to save for everybody, but rally's in. All right, we're going back. We're going back. Let's watch a rally before we hop off here. Let's get them. Oh, there we go. Ash Zuge on the Hera. Ugh. See, if you're swarming and you see this thing from a Hera get to about 8, get to about 6, right there. That's when you start swarming. Yep, doing it right. Anubis is doing it right. Now, if they go dump a bunch of troops in here, then it's going to get a little painful, but it seems like we're doing good. When you see 1K whites on the swarms, that's good. You're trading positive. That's really good. You get below 1K, it's about to pop. There it goes. That's how it works. Good job, guys. Good job, boys. Josh, where's your march? I see Daddy Prime. I see Bay. Oh, there you are. There's our boy running it down. Good job, Josh. All right. So here's what we got. Tomorrow I'm going to do some streaming. Got a couple of things to do tomorrow. Plus, I believe we have either Dalrock or Esmeralda's house. We'll max that stuff out tomorrow. And I'll have a cool video on Tuesday. I might have a video coming between them. I need to do a video on the different tools I use for rock. There's about 4 different websites or applications that I use that I think people need to know about. Works out really, really well, and we can do that in another video. And then starting Wednesday, I mean, we'll just be streaming nonstop until King's Lands ends. We'll just be doing nonstop streaming, baby. Got the Archer report going here. There you go. Yeah, that's always going to do some work, bro. Let's see the buffs here. Full iconic, that's good. Archer attack is good. Defense is great. All damage 11.5. That guy, he's got to get to max tech. Of course, you guys are still in zone 5. It's pretty impossible. That's pretty good where he's at in zone 5. It's good, man. Rock and roll. What are we using here? The counter offensive. Yep. Far from home. I like that one. And then field troops, Ant Crusher. I take off Ant Crusher and I put the one that enhances counter offensive, makes it 30% counter attack. What are they using? Berserker Blood, Breakneck. So they're not using this on their Garrison? Eee, not good. Woo! All right, y'all. I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for watching. Gosh, we got up to 220 people watching this thing on concurrent. And as always, enjoyed hanging out with you on a Sunday. If you got any questions, you can join my Discord. Anybody that's in my Discord, they can tell you I'm really easy to reach in the Discord. Tag me in general chat or something. If you're one of our members, be sure to go in there and join. We're real responsive with that. If you're one of my 300 members, of course, you know that you can reach me anytime. But the link to my Discord is in the description. It's also tagged here at the very top. So you guys can always go to my Discord and hang out. Any video ideas you got, just tell me. That's where a lot of these ideas come from. And we have a lot of fun doing it. So with that being said, hope everybody enjoys your weekend. Enjoy some football today in the States with the NFL going on. And we will see you on a stream tomorrow. Appreciate it, guys. You guys take care, broskies.